Okay, another day, another story. Nothing funny to say this time. Yeah, YouTube stuff, pin comment. You know the drill by now. Anyways, on to the story. Just a quick shout out to the T5 peeps. Bob the Dragon, Cat Crab Lobster, Data Magnet, Dark Machine, Bezic, Try Again 95, Fudic Yol, Astrea the Dreamer, Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Ithilia, Meridian 117, and Jordan Bucksmorm. Thank you very much. All about the Linmians, Part 15, by the Beautiful Sea. Linmians have a fascination for other cultures. This fascination and respect is part of why the Linmians are such a successful traders. There's also something the Glint could learn in their interactions with other cultures. They learned this technique from the Glint. Dubiuk Review of Ontological Species Studies, all about the Linmians, by the Beautiful Sea, published by Glass and Steel. All about the Linmians, Translation Engine 3.1415. Zoe glanced at Nero's face and shrugged. Sorry, adrenaline is a human name. What do you call it? Nero shook her head. No, you don't understand. We don't have an adrenaline analog. That is why when the Glint... Nero paused delicately and then bent to pet Bubsy, to avoid looking at the naked expression on Zoe's face. Anyway... Linmiads were never a market for that, Nero said. We like to think that we were too noble to take that drug. But I wonder, if we had been able to use it, would we have been as noble? Zoe took a deep breath. Well, something happened to you. It looked like adrenaline. When Linmiads are faced with stress, what do? You don't freeze, right? No, Nero agreed. We run or fight or whatever. But we never get that chemical boost that humans do. Fear doesn't make us run faster. It just makes us run. So, Zoe pressed, when you attacked the foe Crackmore, what did you feel? Have you ever felt that before? Because, I have to tell you, Nerf, that looked a lot like a classic fight-or-flight response. Nerf shook her head wordlessly. You've never felt that before, Zoe said. No, Nerf said. She paused a long time and then said, It was scary. Scary because I felt powerful. Scary because I would like to feel that again. Zoe laughed. Some of it was false, but most of it was real. Don't become a thrill junkie on us, Nerf. You're the stable one. Nerf smiled. It was a small smile, but it was 100% authentic. I don't think there's any danger of me becoming a thrill junkie. Now, shall we go into the strange experimental ship for an unknown FTL device that may or may not have the Glint on our tail? Zoe snorted laughter this time, and it was genuine. I guess the idea of becoming a thrill junkie is kind of pointless when this is the life we're leading, right? Bubsy stood on her hind legs and stretched her paws up to Zoe as far as they would go. She could reach past Zoe's waist. Come on, you silly girl, Zoe said and picked her up. Let's go look at the ship. The interior of the ship was pretty much what Nero had expected, though perhaps a bit more cluttered. It hadn't crashed precisely, more like just had a hard landing. But that didn't account for the clothes tossed in a variety of places, or the empty food containers that just dropped anywhere handy. There was one that was overturned on top of the ship's microphone. Zoe picked up one of the empty food containers as Bubsy started expressing an interest in it. I wonder how long he stayed here before heading out to the point. He'd sent a message to be picked up. Why not just stay with the ship? It would offer shelter, at the very least. I'm guessing I know why, said Nate from the engine room. Zoe, Nero, and Bubsy headed over to see what Nate was talking about. There was a gap in one of the control panels, and wires showed where something had been unplugged. Oh, that's the ship's beacon, Zoe said. So he pulled it so the ship couldn't be tracked. Did Captain Rackham mention if they found Steve's body because of a tracking beacon? Captain Rackham changes his story just a bit every time we ask about it, Nate said. I didn't even bother to ask him this time. So he moved the tracking beacon, Nara said. But anyone that came to find him would be able to scan this island at least and find the ship. Not so, Captain Rackham said from behind them. Believe me, I scanned for the ship. I got a lot of false positives in this search because the rocks have high mineral content. but I never found the ship. Now, I could use some help getting the FTL drive unhitched. We saved 4 days by traveling down the river. Captain Rackham tipped his hat at Nerv. My thanks, my lady, he said as an aside. But we still have to lug this thing back to the shuttle before the nonsuch comes back to get us. Quirrell and Alan were already arguing about the best way to detach the FTL drive from the ship, and whether or not the cone on the front of the ship was integral to the design. Tara volunteered to go outside and get some scans of the cone. Nate walked over to the FTL drive, picked up one of the tools sitting next to the drive, and gave it a smart rap with a wrench. It made an unmusical gong noise, but it did break through to Quirrell and Alan's argument. Boys, stop arguing, Nate said, and twirled the wrench. You'll clearly remove it like this. And he started working at the bottom of the drive, where it was bolted to the floor. Quirrell and Alan gave each other a shameful look, and then grabbed wrenches of their own and joined Nate. It wasn't an argument, Alan finally said. We were just having a passionate discussion. Alan, if that's what you think a passion is, you need to spend some more time finding friends when we next hit planetfall, Nate advised. Alan blushed, but smiled and didn't argue with Nate. There's something very weird with the cone, Tariff announced when he came back into the ship after a few minutes. I can't get a focus on it, much less scan it. Captain Raccoon pursed his lips in thought. Leave it, he said. We have the FTL drive. If it turns out that we need that cone, we can come back. But the drive and the cone will be too much for us to manage if we try to haul them both out at the same time. I'm not even entirely sure that we can get the drive down to the shuttle. Nate waved his wrench. Don't worry, I have that part. I have a cunning plan. After successfully removing the mounting bolt from the drive, Nate stood up and put the wrench back, while Quirrell and Alan finished working on their bolts. The only thing I don't get, Nate said, is that last clue, by the sea, even after we found it. I don't get what that clue means. End of chapter. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed. There are links down below, both to support this channel and for the author of this fiction. Anyways, I hope you all have a fantastic one, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.